And we're live. Welcome everybody to the first ever NIM node operator community town hall, which is a very exciting event. We have an absolutely packed schedule for you, which you hopefully saw in the announcements. Today I have with me, without wasting a lot of time, a pretty packed stage. So first of all, I have Jaya with me, NIM CSO. Say hi to the people.
Hello people, good to be here.
Secondly, I have Serinko, who you hopefully already know from Shipyard and all his work on the various node operation related channels and all our documentations. Say hi to the people.
Hello, good to be back on air with my operators family.
We're glad to have you, Serinko. And I also have someone new, a recent joiner of the NIM team who has some big shoes to fill because Claudia, our chief scientist, is on holiday, a well-deserved holiday. So we have also Igor with us, who's our technical delivery lead. How's it going, Igor?
It's all great. Happy to be here. Looking forward to the chat.
It's awesome to have you. All right, we're not going to waste a lot of time with intros and all of that stuff. I will say the usual thing. You can leave your questions in the live chat. This one is only on YouTube and only shared with our node operator community. So this was not shared publicly. This is only for you guys. But you can leave your questions in the live chat, or you can also leave it on Matrix in the node operator chat, or the main general chat of the NIM Matrix server. And we're keeping an eye there. There will be a Q&A at the end. And we're going to get started. But actually, if I'm not mistaken, Harry has also arrived.
Yeah, apologies. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, well, I haven't used this particular platform before, so just had.
Welcome to Restream. All right, with all of that said, I will hand over to Jaya, who is going to give us an intro. And Salazar, please bring your screen also, the slide deck up there.
Great. So first of all, thank you everyone for joining. This is our very first NIM node operator town hall. And there are three major reasons why we're having this town hall at this very particular time. The very first reason is we've got a new reward scheme that's about to roll out. And we would like to get all the operators a little bit of a preview of what that reward scheme actually looks like. The main reason that we're rolling out this new reward scheme is, first of all, as a lot of you might know, gateways so far have been rewarded by a grants program, but not within the kind of token economics as it currently stands. So this is the main focus of this operator town hall, is to give a bit of a preview of what that gateway reward scheme actually looks like. And to give the kind of high level sneak preview, we're going to start including gateways in the 5 layers, or create 5 layers of the mixnet and include gateways in the reward set as it currently stands. The rewards split across these 5 layers are going to reflect the risk involved in running those nodes. And we're going to have all nodes actually also function as VPN nodes. So these are the kind of high level changes that we're going to talk through throughout the rest of this meeting. But there's a couple other reasons why we're also doing the town hall, which is that the NIM VPN is launching. And that's what Harry is primarily here to talk about, is to give a little bit of insights into what that actually means for operators. And finally, also, now that the mixnet has been live for some time and the token economics have been live for some time, what we're starting to see is that the token economics becomes something that is increasingly, takes on a life of its own. And actually our operator community becomes increasingly the experts of that system. And so we're also going to start to roll out a little bit more of an involved governance process that enables operators to actually feed into the decision making going forward. So Sudo, towards the end of the meeting, is going to give a little bit of insights into the governance process, which initially is going to be a soft governance process, to then segue into something a little bit more formal as NIM improvement proposals. So that's the kind of high level overview of the operator town hall. Next slide, please. So immediately after my very short introduction, Serinko is first going to recap where we're at right now. So there's been a lot of changes to node operations over the past few months. We've been having the fast and furious tests. Overall, the quality of node operations have improved rapidly. So Serinko is just going to give a bit of a status update on where we've arrived at. Then Harry is going to briefly go into the NIM VPN and talk a little bit about some terms and conditions that we're going to roll out. Following that, Igor is going to talk about the bulk of the new reward scheme. So, really go into the nitty gritty of what the reward scheme actually looks like. And we'll round off with Sudo on governance. Next slide, please. So the most important thing for everyone to know is that this is an initial sketch. So a kind of preview of the reward scheme. So you're going to have plenty of time to actually see what it's all about, understand it a little bit better, ask questions in the channels. So we're kickstarting this first operator town hall just with this overview. Then we're going to do a round of feedback over the next few weeks. Then we're going to have another meeting that looks at the kind of technical implementation and the roadmap for the technical implementation before we actually start the technical work itself. So just to say that this is, a very first communication about the new reward scheme, but you'll have plenty of time to understand the details a little bit better and ask questions of Serinko, myself, Claudia, Mark Sinclair, and the rest of the dev team. Next slide, please. So without too much more kind of intro, I'll hand over to Serinko to talk a bit about the status of NIM nodes now.
Next one, please. Hey, I would first of all want to pause here give a big applause to everyone on the side of NIM and especially the DevCore team, and particularly on the side of each and every one of the operators, because we've come together from the testnet over the initial mainnet to smooshing the binaries into NIM node. And basically what it means that we take what works and make it simpler and better. So, however, nothing is perfect, and we understand that there needs to be more improvement on the side of binaries, on the deep network, on the deep networking, on the core of the things, and there'll be more testing coming up. I also want to acknowledge that we actually reach quite some horizon here together, and we can pause for a second and give all together ourselves, and especially our node operators out there, little bit of gratification, because this has been an amazing journey. And since we are on a horizon, then we can look on the farther mountains ahead and see where we're gonna go from here. But to describe what NIM node really is, it's a simple version, one binary containing all the binaries of NIM architecture which we had up until now. That means three main functionalities. That is entry gateway, the mix node, and the exit gateway. The entry and the exit gateway are basically a same binary, except that the exit gateway has embedded network requester and IP packet router. A main advantage is that it's very simple to operate. We took out an init command. It's just run command that does all. You can literally just NIM node run. It's gonna do the magic. There is also a default ID, so you don't have to define your ID. And because of that, you can switch all the modes by one command. As of now, you cannot run multiple modes together. We are planning this in foreseeable future. This is the goal of NIM node, that you're gonna enable all the modes, and the algorithm will choose how your node is gonna be positioned, whether it's gonna be for a given epoch a mixed node, an entry gateway, or exit gateway. Igor will be mentioning more on that side, also talking about rewards. Right now, it's one NIM node, one functionality, which is flagged as mode. But you can switch between those, very simple, and that is because all components are configured under the hood of NIM node. After initial run, every NIM node, regardless of what mode you run, contains all the identities, things, keys, and what have you. Of course, private, public. And then embedded configurations for exit gateway as well, network requester, IP packet router, and much more. We can go into nitty-gritty into documentation or in next AMA. I'm not gonna spend too much time here. But the TLDR of that is that once you run it, you have it all, and then you basically just changing the modes by a simple command. Next one, please. What we have coming next, Jaya showed an overview, or maybe a bit of a zoom up roadmap. So what I just want to show what we have next in terms of days and coming week, maybe weeks, a month top, in a short kind of distance future. So we have a new release coming out. This is gonna be a 1.1.1, beautiful number. But what we're gonna do based on the feedback, which not always with the highest speed, but we always listen into, just have a limited kind of bandwidth what we can take at a time. But we very much value your feedback. Just as a side note, we're gonna do per release and then days or a week after the main release. So for the brave ones, the per release will be already this week, and the release of the next binary will be the week after. It's gonna be labeled Nutella this time. We're gonna roll out with a sandbox testnet, again, to be more useful, particularly working on at some foreseeable future on a faucet. So you all can also run your nodes in a testing environment, especially in a pre-release version. If you're brave enough and you want to go pre-release on the mainnet, you are very welcome. We always welcome that alongside of our QA, which is always working hard on all the testing before we put anything out there. We're going to be updating some tools for the operators. That is in particular NIM Explorer, and there will be new wallet release coming out soon TM, I believe this week, but don't take me for the deadline. Of course, we're going to return to more performance testing. So the fast and furious continues. We're going to go even faster. We're going to even more furious. Actually, these testing sessions help us a lot. We, on the documentation, came up with a new spec. And thanks to that, we also found out that we had a problem on the routing, especially for exit gateways. So there is a lot of IPv6 configuration guides and scripts and templates for you. We're going to be rolling out with more templates, also for simple monitoring setup in Docker. So you don't have to do all the Grafana and Prometheus setup. You're just going to have like a few Docker commands and that's it. And on a side of operator guides, what I'm preparing for you, I'm going to be trailing alongside what Igor's going to be talking about in a minute and make a reward tokenomic page. There'll be also much more automation, so the numbers will be up to date with each new documentation build. And we are starting this week or next week. There's already a draft from one squad sent to us, a proposal on by Tor-inspired Good Bad ISPs page, which is a really wonderful one. And we love Tor and Tor community, how they go about that. However, NIM is a bit different when it comes to these things. So we're going to be having customized version of Good Bad ISPs page for our operators, and it's going to be open for the operators input. Thanks a lot to Lunarda who sent the initial template for that. I'm going to put it out to documentation probably next week. Next one, please. And finally, some quick resources. I very much hope that you all already know. We got operators guide on nimtech.net/operators. That's where all the guides, all the info. Now I also put their changelog, which is not only changelog of the binaries and of the software, but also what is new on the side of the documentation for the given release cycle. We have Harbor Master that we run a probe program, which you all can run yourself as well. I'm going to put it into the guides how to do that. And this probe together with the API is getting in this front end Harbor Master, so we can see how your gateway is routing and all that stuff. Really useful tool. I was impressed how many people improved their gateways thanks to seeing how they are routing and stuff together with the scripts we provided. We continue, as I said, with the fast and furious testing. So you can sign in your node in events, nimtech.net/events/fast and furious. And then we will be running through your nodes when we do testing. Might destroy them if they're on 2 weak machines, but it might be for good because otherwise they're not useful for the network. So again, all that helps us improve a lot to get the specs, to get the documentation and stuff out for you all to know what kind of nodes to run to have a solid, robust, distributed network. And finally, join the Operators Network metrics channel, which is a great community place. Devs come along as well. I'm there every day. So we all hang out there. And what I like the most about that is that the operators now help each other. So it's not like me being a central point or our great community managers being a central point of truth, but now the community is actually responding and chatting with each other, and it's actually much more organic and kind of like mutual. So next one, please. And I believe that is all from me. Thank you very much. And I'm passing to Harry.
Hey, everyone. Can you hear me? Yes? No? Okay. So I'd like to give a quick update about why we're doing these changes and what the next few months of NIM hold, and particularly some of the changes we're going to roll out as we open up the network to the general public. So I think what is often maybe not appreciated is that most blockchain projects don't really have any users. What they really, a lot of them have a few users, maybe a few whales moving some money around, but they're not really offering something that like an ordinary person or even my family or an activist in the Middle East or something would want. Someone that doesn't really care about blockchain. So again, the whole point of all of these changes we're rolling out is to basically make the NIM network performant enough that it can function as a kind of VPN replacement, doing everything people want VPNs to do, but actually doing it correctly and privately and in a decentralized manner. Because as we all know, most centralized VPNs are scams, and we want to offer even better privacy guarantees than current existing alternatives like Tor. So that is unfortunately leading to a lot of updates, and I apologize if we've broken anything. We'll try to fix it. The dev team is like super busy basically getting out the Windows, the Mac, the iOS, the Linux versions, the Android versions of the NIM VPN. So we are still working on a lot of the integrations, but we just don't have as many devs on it as we should, and we'd really appreciate help on that. So if people are looking to help us out, now is a pretty good time to get involved. And if we have broken stuff, I think PasteNIM is having some issues, and so is Nodes Guru. We'd like to know so we can fix it. Now let's really kind of get to the heart of the matter. The big change we just rolled out is Smush, which Serinko just excellently described. And what this allows is this allows every single node to operate as a gateway. And that means that the NIM network gets the highest possible geographic spread of entry nodes for the kind of DVPN use case. And furthermore, gateways are integral to the system. When we first launched NIM, we thought that gateways would be something that the apps would run themselves. Now, what we discovered is that people don't like running gateways, that people don't like running servers. And so we, obviously grants help get gateways going, and particular projects, run their own gateways, which is cool. I think we have some volunteers running like a Monero gateway and whatnot. But the fact of the matter is we decided it'd be better for the long-term stability network. It's crazy to have these highly capable, highly operational mixed nodes, and the gateways be like the Achilles heel, the weakest point of the project, where people can't connect to the mixnet because they can't find a good gateway. So we've enabled everyone to be gateways, and then we will reward gateways as well. So that's what Igor is going to explain. He's working with Claudia on really kind of filling out all the details in our crypto economic system. So I think these are huge changes, and we do apologize if they've broken stuff. That being said, the changes are necessary, because if we don't do these changes, NIM VPN and the NIM network will never get users. And we need, again, the more users you have, we're not like Tor VPN. The more users we have, the more anonymous everyone is, period. So we have to get the number of users up, and we have to be usable by ordinary people. And this just ordinary people, aren't as tolerant as, let's say, me and you probably are about gateways being down or mixed nodes being slow. That being said, we do really value what everyone's done so far, and we hope you can all keep up with the changes. And we will try to slow the release schedule down and make sure things go into Sandbox first. If you are a node runner and you're not in Sandbox, please get in Sandbox. I think a lot of what's happening with node runners having errors is that, they're not while the dev team works very hard to make things backwards compatible, there's always going to be per platform specific issues. So if you are running a node in Sandbox, you'll see those a week or two before everything goes out, and that will let you debug your node. So I hope everyone understands that. Now, the other big situation we want to talk about is the situation of once we start getting real users to the network, both will have a great amount of new rewards once those users and the zk-nym payment flow starts working. However, this comes with a number of possible problems. So we have 2 or 3 problems. One problem is that users, ordinary users, have trouble distinguishing NIM as a group of developers from NIM, a decentralized network. And we are putting a lot of trust in the decentralized network to do things like not log users, right? So we want no logging, so forth and so on. Also, we don't want, it is completely legal in most jurisdictions to run a VPN or run anonymizing software. But we also don't want the node operators for you guys to get in trouble, and we don't want us to get in trouble. So with the help of lawyers, including folks from the Free Software Foundation, we've crafted a terms and conditions. So these terms and conditions will apply in the next update of the nodes. And the terms and conditions will basically sort of say, to be very honest, they say you should not be able to sue us if something goes wrong, and we shouldn't be able to sue you. That we are not liable for what you do, and you aren't liable for what we do. And then we say, here's what you should do. In particular, we should say, things like you don't log. And on the other hand, we have responsibilities to make sure your rewards come through. And it just kind of clarifies the situation, particularly if we have malicious nodes and whatnot. It kind of keeps everyone from getting in trouble. And given all the situation everyone's been seeing recently, for example, with the Samurai case, I think it's important for us to do things as in a way where everyone is independent, but everyone has clear rights and responsibilities, and people basically can't be crazy and hurt each other. That includes us and you and us. I think that's a good thing. So that will be coming out with the next NIM release, and we'll be able to answer questions on it. But we do think that it's the best thing for the whole network. It will basically keep the network strictly legal in most jurisdictions. Now, we do know that folks may have legal issues, right? Maybe someone's going to be using your node for something which someone doesn't like. Likewise, if that does happen, we are currently preparing for this likelihood by basically drawing up a number of legal memos explaining in some of the major jurisdictions if it's legal or not to run NIM node. So it is legal in most jurisdictions. We'll share those kind of documents with everyone over the next few months. And then while we're still doing grants this month for just running service providers, integrating new wallets, in the future, a lot of our grants will aim towards, and we've had a great request from the Ukraine community already, aiming to making sure that people who run nodes have access to lawyers, legal memos, and ideally legal support. So we'll outline this all in a blog post coming up pretty soon. We think it's good. We think it's just part of the network maturing, but we also don't want people, we want everyone to be confident. We don't want people to freak out. And we want everyone to be as protected as possible. So I'm happy to answer any questions on this. I don't know if we have time for a break now, or we can go to the next topic. Are there any questions from the audience?
I would keep the Q&A to the end. We have some time scheduled.
Okay, we'll keep Q&A. I'll answer questions at the end, but if you have Q&A, definitely throw them up. Again, we'll be sharing the terms and conditions and all the legal work over the next for the next release. And then I think the most important thing to remember is that it is legal to use anonymizing software, and it's legal to run a VPN in almost all jurisdictions. So that's a good thing. So it's not, people often get a mixnet confused with a cryptocurrency mixer. These are very different things. Cryptocurrency mixer is anonymized cryptocurrency and only cryptocurrency. and mixed nets and mixed nodes anonymize every single byte that's gone through. Therefore, mixed nodes basically take advantage of the what's called lack of carrier liability. So just as Google is not liable for everything in this on the web, or Facebook's not liable for every post, you as a node operation not be liable for everything that goes through your pipes. And I do want to mention briefly, if I have a second, do I have a second, Sudo? I'm going a little bit over.
Yes, of course.
And we also have some other cool stuff coming up, which hopefully won't cause huge configuration issues, but you're going to see a lot of updates. And the updates we're particularly interested in from the R&D angle that aren't going to come soon, but we are working on the background, just so people know we are, is we're working with to speed up the network. So this includes basically optimized Curve 25519 code that's already been produced by Daniel Bernstein, who invented Curve 25519 and most of the modern crypto. So we'll have faster curves that should give us a double speed performance for the mixnet. Chelsea is still working with hopefully working with KU Leuven in the fall on putting out FPGAs. We can imagine that there will be so we don't want everyone immediately to switch to Amazon. This question has come up several times. No, we really do expect the future of NIM will be geographically dispersed, high quality bare metal servers. And we will hopefully in the fall, or at least early next year, have specialized hardware for people. And all that Chelsea's work will come to fruition. On another note, we do know that there has been a lot of progress on quantum computing and post-quantum cryptography. We are working with Karthik and other folks to basically make sure, and Daniel Bernstein as well, to make sure that we have solid post-quantum resistance, key rotations, and network level security on all the nodes. This update should be coming out fairly. The node security in terms of noise will come out fairly shortly. Rotations among key rotations on the mixed nodes will take a bit longer, and then after that, we'll enable post quantum. So we do have a clear game plan there. And I think the big issue is really censorship. So we have discovered that a lot of our node communities will be. Yes, the bare metal will be pricier, but we believe that there's users that you will get more than enough to afford it. We'll see. We don't know until we launch it. We do know that a lot of users, and particularly Russia and China, and also India and other places, are under all throughout the Middle East, are under a lot of censorship. So we are looking into anti-censorship measures. These will not be probably in the first version of NimVPN, because obviously we want to kind of debug things one at a time. But once we get the first version of NimVPN out and stable, we will be adding anti-censorship so that NimVPN is usable in all jurisdictions. If you are a specialist anti-censorship, or you are in a jurisdiction that is facing censorship, we would like to talk to you, and we would like for you to run some tests that help us understand exactly what censorship's going on. So we've partnered with UNI, that's the Open Observatory of Network Infrastructure, which is the same people that work with Tor on anti-censorship, and we have UNI tests available. We need to update them probably, and just get in touch. We will basically we'll probably do another round, not only of fast and furious testing, but another round or two of censorship and testing. So I think the combination, the goal is by end of the year, the mixnet will be out. It will be fully security audited. All the crypto will be verified. We will have a post-quantum enabled. We will have ideally analytically proven ideal parameters to guarantee the best possible anonymity for our users. Once we actually, the NimVPN will kind of give us a feel for who the user base are, how they're using it, what they're doing. Right now, the parameters for mixing are not ideal, I would say. And then at the end, we should be able to eventually serve countries which are under censorship, which is a huge goal of ours. And then the network will also continue to decentralize and move in more and more to community governance so that there are no central points of failure. And I think Sudo is going to discuss that more later in today. So that's all the updates. Again, don't freak out when you get the new update. Don't worry about new legal. We're here to answer questions. We're here to support you. And we have a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipeline. Thanks so much.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Again, happy to be here. So we're gonna move on swiftly from Harry's great overview towards the much more specific tasks of the node reward scheme changes. But I hope you will like it. I think that it's a very, let's say, good combination of progress and potential increasing revenue and keeping important things stable, at least for the time being. So next slide, please. So why do we need to change the reward scheme in the first place? Why break a good thing if it doesn't need fixing? Well, unfortunately, with the release of the VPN and everything that's going on, we do need to change everything. So, however, we are going to do it constructively and step by step. Key issues we have now is that gateways are currently not rewarded, and with everything that we've been discussing so far today, not to mention other previous communications, gateways are critical, both for the VPN, both for the VPN activity, which is how we're going to achieve the anonymity that we're aiming for, and also in general for everything else that we're doing. So we need to ensure the gateway operators are appropriately incentivized in a stable and robust manner. So we're including them in the reward set. We're updating our white paper in due course as we finalize the scheme. With the launch of the VPN, we will be rewarding all the gateways for the work that they do. And in general, next slide, please. In general, the main changes can be summarized by basically 3 points. Is that work is now rewarded a lot more than previously, and work as a gateway is rewarded more than the work as a plain mixed node. And VPN work is additionally rewarded from the revenue that we expect to get from the VPN clients. So these, it's all about rewarding work. So I'm not going to repeat already great description of Serinko and Harry and the importance of the smooshed nodes. But what we do have now is a setup that allows us to run gateways on practically any node that any operator is running. We are not changing the reward set size, so we still are keeping exactly the same number of rewarded nodes in the active set. There's no changes there. The mixnet now has 5 layers. We have the entry gateways, we have the 3-layer mixnet, so there's 40 mix nodes on each layer. We have the 70 exit gateways, and all of these nodes can also act as NIM VPN nodes, and as either entries or exits again. In terms of target staking supply, there is no change. In terms of node stake saturation, again, there is no change. And then the way that we are using the mixed mining pool for the pool rewards, we are not changing anything there either. So the reward rate from the mixed mining pool remains the same. But and this is should be great for any operator, we now also plan to be sharing the user fees from the NIM VPN. When it starts to generate revenue, we'll be sharing that with node operators and using that as part of the rewards as well. So, because of that, now we, as a quick summary, entry gateways and exit gateways for their work gets rewarded slightly more than the mixed net layers. when we are talking about these percentages and the weightings that we see here, we will see the exact formula a little bit below. We are talking about rewards per ticket, because we will be effectively tracking the processed work done by any node. And the weight of the work done by each layer carries a different pricing pricing weight, which is what this 20%, 15%, 35% corresponds to. For the VPN reward share, again, we don't have exactly the same weight for the entry node and the exit node work. Why is that? It's because from the feedback we've gathered, there are apparently more issues that exit nodes have to face, and to compensate for that, they're rewarded more for that. So next slide, please. So in essence, we now have a two-layer cake that you as node operators can participate in. So we have the mixed network, which is pretty much as what we have at the moment, with different distribution of the rewards. So we have 240 nodes, but whether, depending on whether the ticket you are getting is an entry gateway ticket, whether it's a mixnet ticket or an exit gateway ticket, you're going to get a slightly different weight of the allocated reward than you would have done otherwise. But on top of that, and independent, is the rewards for the VPN work. Okay, so each one of the nodes that you're running is now also able to participate as an entry and an exit point for the VPN, ideally both, and then you will get a share of the revenue for the traffic that the users will be sending your way. As simple as that. So next slide, please. So just as a quick reminder, in the current implementation that we have the mixed mining pool. We are using it at a certain rate. We have the 2% per month distribution, giving us a certain reward budget, and this is currently allocated to all the rewarded mix nodes, but based on the work fraction, which depends on the which is currently fixed, and then but the reward depends on the performance, stake saturation, and staking supply and the constants and so on. But as you can see, the work fraction is fixed. So in that sense, we're whether you're getting processing a lot of traffic or not, you are not you are rewarded at the same at the same level. Next slide, please. So what we're doing here now is I'm not going to focus too much on the numerical factors, the 15%, the 20%, the 35% weightings. But I think the important point to notice here is that we have the mixnet entry and exit tickets that we are tracking. Basically, we're following the data and the amount of mixnet utilization that the nodes are providing, and what the traffic is going through it, and rewarding them appropriately. Now, the remaining weights in terms of staking, etc., will still apply. So next slide, please. And the same goes for the VPN work. Effectively, what we have is the VPN entry and VPN exit tickets that will be calculating in terms of assessing the work done with the 40 and the 60% weights. The selected nodes, and rewarding the nodes for the work performed. Again on top of the other rewards that they would have accrued. Next slide, please. Right. So this can be a little bit overwhelming, but please treat the formulae that you see here in a couple of following slides as primarily for your reference. This is effectively what the exact calculation is going on that we're proposing in the new reward layer. Again, the factors means that there will be a reward redistribution towards nodes that process more tickets. So next slide, please. Right, and what this results in, and this is a super rough guideline, and we expect in due course to come up with some further analysis for you once the schema is finalized and our assessment of expected VPN traffic, etc., will be finished. But this gives indication of the type of rewards and, let's say, average case, average VPN use case scenario that a particular node operator would gather for a specific node role. So these are additive in a sense, so that obviously if you're acting as a mixed node and you're also acting as a gateway, then for a VPN, then you would collect the numbers together. So these ones, sorry, these numbers here, they correspond to your allocated role. So here, if you're in the if you're fully saturated nodes, but you are only in the mixnet, this is the mixnet related revenue you'll be collecting. And the next slide, please show me. The next slide is going to show the scenario that includes as well as the mixnet includes the VPN traffic. So this scenario again is rough and based on the assumption that 90% of the traffic effort that you'll be handling is going to be handling the VPN traffic, and 10% the mixnet data. This is based on a very rough assumption that people want to use high security mixing and encryption for a relatively small proportion of the data that they normally use the VPN for. But as you can see, with this kind of mix, this is what your rewards are likely to be, depending on, let's say, whether this has average popularity, it's highly popular, gateway, etc., etc. So, and I think on that side, yes, can we go to? Yes, I think on that side, I'm ready to hand over now to Sudo on governance, and I'm looking forward to answering any questions that arise either at the end of the stream or asynchronously in due course. Thank you.
All right. Hello, everybody. On my screen, the presentation is frozen at one of. Okay, there it is. All right, so there's a lot to chew through. Before I go on with my presentation, just know, guys, we are aware that a whole bunch of new information is being thrown at you right now. All of this will be, of course, communicated in the coming weeks. You are our most engaged and beloved node operators, so we wanted to make sure that all of this big package of info is coming to you ASAP. I hope you're as excited about all of the stuff that was discussed as I am. I'm particularly excited about gateway rewards. They have been a long time coming, and finally the system is in place, and I can't wait for them to be enabled. But on to governance. So as Harry mentioned in his presentation, we are moving towards decentralized governance in various ways. Obviously, this is a process, and that process has started basically with the introduction of NSL. Next slide, please. So I'm going to have to keep this brief because we want time for the Q&A as well. So I'm just going to go through the very basics. The NIM forum has been launched. So a lot of you are already on the NIM forum. So all of the ninjas and shinobis and even nimsters who provided their email addresses during sign up to NSL, they have been invited via email. As you probably saw on the node operator chat today, we also created a way for you guys to sign up as node operators. Now, the goal of the NIM forum is, of course, discussing matters together and making sure that the conversation is in a nice and structured way. It's also our first steps to foster a culture of decentralized governance and decision making. And of course, when it comes to NSL, as you guys already know from my presentation from the previous community call, the governance of the Squad Wealth Fund will also happen fully on-chain at some point. These are the first steps towards that. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about what the forum is for when it comes to NSL participants. You see it on the screen, and this slide deck will be shared with you after the call. So when it comes to node operators, of course, there are a whole bunch of issues that concern node operators, and we're going to be discussing those on the forum. And of course, we're also going to be voting on those issues starting very soon. And coming soon, we need to still figure out the details of this, but we're going to be implementing an improvement proposal system. You may be, hey, Hoki, you may be familiar with this name already. This, of course, is coming from, or it's a very similar model to the BIP. Sorry, guys. To BIPs, which are Bitcoin improvement proposals. And a fun fact, those were introduced by a close friend of the project, who's Amir Taki, who you probably already know from DarkFi. And now we're also going to be implementing it on NIM. The details of this are still kind of sparse. We need to figure some things out, but this will also happen on the forum. You guys will get to propose your improvements, and then we will discuss it together and maybe put them up for vote. And then I will also point out the limitations of this, which currently exist. We're using discourse for this forum, and that means that some of the more granular governance options, such as, for example, weighting votes depending on various factors. For example, for people who operate multiple nodes, it would make sense for them to be able to have a single account, which has a different weight when it comes to their votes. And also, we saw some really good questions from Alex on the chat earlier today about whether we can weigh votes in accordance with node parameters such as saturation, which would also make sense. But unfortunately, this is not possible in discourse. So these are just the first steps. Discourse is kind of like a blunt tool, but it's very good for us to start with and build a culture of making decisions together. Next slide, please. So this is already being shared on the node operator chat as well on Matrix, but I'm going to summarize it for you. So there's the link there to sign up to the NIM forum as a node operator by verifying your node ownership. Now you may notice the explorenim.net in the URL there. So this was of course built by Palmflake in record time. So big thanks for that, sir. This is absolutely wonderful. So this looks very similar. The sign-up process looks very similar to the delegations program sign-up. So you just go there, you provide your email address, you sign a message with your node, verifying node ownership, and you provide your email address. Then manually, so it may take a bit of time, you will be invited via email to join the forum. And when you use the link in the email, you will be onboarded automatically as a node operator. Now, one quick note is that, of course, you can only sign up once with one node. So to avoid Sybil attacks, people having multiple votes under the same node, you can only sign up with one node once. And unfortunately, you also can only sign up. So you can't put multiple nodes under one email address because of the limitations I mentioned earlier when it comes to discourse. So we're going to be looking into fixing that. But for now, those who are operating multiple nodes, if you want to have as many votes as many nodes you're operating, you will have to unfortunately register one account for each node. Yeah, so that's the main limitation for now. Next slide, please. And now on to voting. So of course, we have an initial batch of votes coming. If you're an NSL participant, you already know some of the things that we're going to be voting about. I'm not going to go through the NSL votes. You can see them on screen, and you will be seeing them in the slide deck, which we're going to be sharing after the town hall. But as for operators, the first two votes that we're going to be putting up is one about the minimum profit margin. As you know, we sort of unofficially had a vote already back almost exactly a year ago on the Telegram chat of the node operators, the node operators help chat. That's not a great way of doing this. So that's exactly why we're introducing discourse in the NIM forum, so we can have a better place to vote on these things. So we're going to be voting about whether to implement a minimum profit margin. There seems to be some disagreement on this in the community, and also to the extent and level of the minimum profit margin. If we're implementing it. Now, the tentative date for this is May 9th, but please keep in mind that if you guys, if it takes longer for many node operators to join the forum, then I'm going to be delaying it until we have like a large number of node operators already onboarded to the forum. And then the other immediately happening, so in the very near future, happening vote is going to be on preferred comms channels. This will be happening both for NSL participants and also for node operators, because we're on so many different platforms, and we realize that some people may not love the very privacy preserving but not so good in terms of UI and UX element and matrix that we're using. So we're going to be putting this up for vote, and the outcome will be either us sharing all comms on multiple channels, or switching from Element over to some other platform, which you guys vote on. When it comes to our main operator channels, we're going to be discussing this and voting on it very soon. And then what is the next vote? So what kind of votes can you expect? Well, of course, you saw this presentation. You see and understand how many changes are coming to node operation. So the conversation that we're going to be having in the coming weeks is, of course, also going to be informing the votes that we're going to be initiating. So make sure to join that conversation, join the forum, and I'm really looking forward to and very excited about introducing governance. Next slide, please. And I believe that was it. Yes. Okay. So now on to the Q&A. Let's bring everybody back on screen, please.
Sudo, that was a presentation in fast forward. I think you were double speed there.
Yes, I wanted to leave time for the Q&A. We have so many amazing questions.
That's
wait,
good.
let's remove the screen for now, I think. Right? Yeah. This is probably better. All right. So questions. Will gateways be the most profitable? Who asked this question? I have a nice list. Thanks, Jaya, for the list in my DMs.
Igor, why don't you take that?
Right. I think that you're going to be the most profitable if you do everything. That's really the answer I can give you, because basically the work you do is additive. So if you offer your service to the VPN, then as both the entry and the exit node, you'll collect a whole other revenue stream you wouldn't otherwise be collecting. Now, so this is important, and also for the rest of the mixnet, you'll be collecting the most rewards the more available you are to the system, and because then you'll be allocated to where the capacity requirements are. I hope that's clear enough, bearing the time constraints, but more than happy to delve deeper offline.
All right. Yep. Thanks for that answer. I believe the next question is from Rocio. Will the token economic model be in the documentation to read after this call? I think this one is for you, Jaya.
Yeah. So and also for Serinko, I guess. So the way that we're going to do this, like I said earlier, this town hall is really here as a preview, so that all of you have a bit of a heads up on what's going to happen. So what we'd like to do next is get a round of feedback. So over the next week or so, just ask all your questions. We're going to share the slide deck so people have a chance to really digest the information. That's going to kind of then feed into the documentation so that Serinko knows, what are the kind of top questions that people have on their minds and how can we write it in a way that's most understandable. And it's also going to feed into, I believe Igor and Claudia are going to be working on a little bit of a light paper because this is a change from the token economics paper that was published last year. And so, to kind of really flesh it out clearly with all the equations and everything, Igor and Claudia will put that out as a proper light paper so people can have a look and a read through that as well. So yeah, hold tight for the documentation.
I can go on the documentation a little bit. We just roll out Nimnode, which is a lot of changes me and Harry had been spoken in depth about, and AMAs and stuff around that. We're coming out with a per release this week, next release next week. So there'll be still a lot to catch up on the IPv6 routing and all that type of stuff. And given that this implementation of the rewards, we talk in weeks, and this is really just like alpha heads up, I would be saying soon TM by the end of the month, we're going to have that in documentation properly in like more human readable way, including some scripts which will be pulling the data about the stake saturation, all that type of stuff kind of in real time or on any time we build the new book, because Rust Markdown books is, it's not dynamic pages, of course, but we don't want to do kind of like as of time November last year type of reference or to some blog page reference. We're going to have actual like live documentation, including all the type of numbers. It will take some time. It will take some discussions with you all operators as well as with the team within NIM. So give me 3-4 weeks. It's going to be definitely out before the implementation is fully there anyway.
Thank you both for the answers. I believe the next one is for you, Harry. And the question is, does this mean the original token economics paper is changed? Let's maybe also throw in there.
Not really. I mean, so the equations in the token economic paper are the same. What has changed is the way we divide the mix. Does that make sense? So there hasn't been like a fundamental change in token economics. Like the same amount of tokens is being emitted. The equations for the deflation, the kind of deflationary curve is the same. What we will do though is we will probably over the next year, once Claudia and Igor put out a kind of blog post explaining the new gateway rewards. So you can remember there's two sources of income. So the big change is there's going to be two sources of income. One is the inflationary pool. That's the reward sharing. Okay, so that's the same as the paper, but now with gateways. And then there's rewards from users. That's direct payment rewards, right? And so that's like someone that uses your node as a gateway, and then they get paid. So again, as Igor said, if you do both, you'll get more. And how much you get depends on how many users we have. The inflationary reward should stay the same. The goal is just like Bitcoin. Eventually, the transaction fees, or in this case, the VPN subscription, should eventually become more than the inflationary pool. That's what we're hoping. That being said, we should revisit this the token economics paper in light of data, and we should make all the variables more data driven. So that's going to be by end of the year. I do hope we have a big update for the token. I mean, I think honestly, it's going to need to run 3 or 4 months in the real world to get the right data points. So once we get the right data points, then we will probably update the paper as a whole and include, if you look at the current paper, it's got simulations, but if we do a revision, we want to actually have historical data and real data in it. And so, but that's going to take a while, right? So we can't do that now because we just have simulations. And Igor showed you the simulations that we currently have, but a real update should take into account everything. I also just want to add one little thing. I did see someone said FHE. So in terms of post-quantum, the post-quantum work we're doing is using pre-shared keys, particularly in the WireGuard and noise layer, and then enabling the Sphinx packet successor format, Sphinx 2 or Outfox as we call it, to also enable post-quantum on the payload, and if necessary, post-quantum on the Diffie-Hellmans. That's probably not that necessary, but could be necessary in the future. And there are different post-quantum algorithms. There's, for example, FHE relies on what's called lattice-based problems. Lattice-based problems are very hard to solve, but there's been a number of breaks on them. So we get a little bit scared by those. We do think that there's probably a good set of parameters for lattice-based crypto. We also want to be able to support more conservative post-quantum choices. That would be what's called, if someone asks what crypto system, there's particularly a lot of look at what's called the code-based crypto or McEllis system, which is based, for those of you who know, on coding theory. This is very old crypto, very big keys, but also very quantum resistant and no known attacks, and it's been studied for 40, 50 years now. So our hope is that over the next half a year or so, we're going to first roll out generic post-quantum support, and then depending on the state of art on attacks, have secure parameters for both lattice and coding-based crypto keys. Probably using the coding-based crypto keys for really sensitive stuff. Doesn't need to be that fast, like decrypting payload and securing the WireGuard and post and noise tunnels. And then stuff that has to be fast would be probably some sort of lattice-based scheme like MLKIM or NetRU. Our advisor in this, I'm not a post-quantum expert, but Daniel Bernstein is advising, and Karthik Bhargavan from Crispin is helping build the actual sort of pre-shared key sharing mechanism. So for those of you who don't know, Daniel DJB is a very good designer of crypto, so we will have some cool new crypto that will be secure. DJB has never screwed that up so far. So he's very conservative, but also politically aligned, I would say. Is there any other questions for me? Otherwise, unfortunately, I have another meeting, so I'm going to have to jump.
One last question I think we should address is, what about validators?
So, I mean, I can take this if you need to jump, Harry. It's totally fine.
Yeah, I'll tell you the big plan for validators, and Jaya can go into the details. We are rewarding validators now. Validators should be decentralized fully. However, it is crazy to launch a user-centric VPN and mess with core component system all at the same time. So right now, all the actions stresses on the mixed node. Mixed nodes are going to be stressed. It's going to be a lot of fun on the mixed nodes, a lot of updates, a lot of usage. And then the next step, once we know we have users with real data and real money coming in an MVPN system, then the next step is to move, my focus at least will move to the validator. And we have some ideas for fully decentralizing them. It shouldn't be that hard. It's just if it went wrong, it would take out the VPN, and we don't want to take out the VPN until we want to get that working first. So Jaya, you can go from there into the details of anything.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't think we should go into too many details in the validator call or validator set in this call. It's just worth saying that, for all intents and purposes, for now, we really need to think of this as two separate systems that work together in symbiosis to deliver really strong privacy, right? So what we've got is a mixed net infrastructure, and we have a blockchain. All focus right now is on the mixed net and enabling broad usage of that via the launch of the NIM VPN. The blockchain is serving that at the moment. And as Harry said, that's a kind of stable component that we don't want to mess with too much right now. That means that we have a permissioned validator set at the moment. And they're rewarded with their own mechanisms. I can share the docs with you to get a better understanding of how validators are rewarded currently. That is a permission set, but if you are interested in running a validator, do get in touch, because we are compiling a list of interested parties, and we are looking for good operators. Right now it's a one in, one out situation though. So, it's not going to be anytime soon that, we'll be opening to a kind of permissionless set. That'll be later, much later in the year. Good. Does that cover all the questions for now?
Well, not all of them. And I would like to ask everybody, our dear community, to keep the conversation going. So if you check the node operator chat on our Matrix server, you can see that Harry has been really active there throughout this call as well. This is definitely a lot to discuss. So please keep the convo going. This is all the questions that we have time for. I will let Harry, Igor, and Serinko go, and Jaya and I will stay to wrap up.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So keep an eye on our chats for the slide deck. As promised, it will be shared. Also, all of this information, of course, is going to hit you in various different forms over the coming weeks. But I'm not going to blabber anymore, and I'm going to hand over to Jaya to wrap this call up properly.
Good. To attempt to summarize all of that, most importantly, the kind of easiest way to think about how gateway rewards are going to be implemented in the first instance is that we're simply taking the existing operator set, the existing set of nodes, which are 240 nodes, and they're going to be spread out across 5 layers, right? And those 5 layers are going to comprise 50 entry gateways, 3 times 40 mixed nodes, and 70 exit gateways. The top operators are going to be selected for the gateway set. Yeah. And the benefit of being a gateway is that the percentage of rewards available to rewarding gateways is slightly higher than for mixed nodes. And that is to reflect that mixed nodes take a slightly higher risk, or gateways have a slightly higher risk when they're operating than mixed nodes. And this is a hypothesis that we have for the time being, but it's an open research question, right? The rewards available for each layer is 20% of mixed mining rewards are going to entry gateways, 3 times 15% for each of the 3 layers of mixed nodes, and 35% for the exit gateways. On top of this, every single node also operates as an NIM-VPN node. And this means that, when you're serving the VPN, you have the ability to earn some top-up rewards apart from the kind of base rewards that you're making. So as Igor described it, it's a 2-layer cake. That's the easiest way to think about it. One of the layers should increase, grow bigger and bigger and bigger as we see, large-scale adoption of the NIM VPN. This is our hope, right? So that's the kind of high-level overview that I just want to leave you all with. This is really the kind of core information that I would like everybody to take from this meeting, because I know it's been a lot of information coming through. But this is really the kind of the broad brushstrokes outline of this new schema. So what happens next? I'm sure a lot of you guys are all of a sudden going to be thinking about a ton of other questions that you want to have answered. I can see that in the chat already. So please keep those questions going in the node operator chat, where the core team will be available to answer all those questions throughout the next many weeks. We are going to share the slides. You'll have plenty of time to look into the equations for those of you who have, math heads. We are then going to be doing this round of community feedback, and that's going to inform how we write up the docs. It's going to inform aspects of the scheme. And meanwhile, we're going to roll out soft governance, as Sudo presented earlier today. And the soft governance is really to start getting used to working more closely together, right? So what we want here is a close collaboration between our operator community and the core team, especially because the operator community is increasingly becoming the experts on how this token economic scheme actually works in the real world, right? In the meantime, we're also going to get the dev team on board for a bit of an AMA so that all of you can understand what the scheme looks like in terms of technical implementation, so you know what's coming up. And as I said, Igor and Claudia will be working on the light paper to give an overview of the kind of little tweaks here and there and changes to the scheme as it's outlined in the token economic paper. So that's pretty much the overview. And it's been an absolute pleasure speaking. Looking forward to many more of these operator town halls, and we'll absolutely be keeping in close touch going forward. So thank you everyone for sticking through.
Yes, it was lovely to have you all here. And thanks for all the great questions. Let's keep the conversation going. And please make sure to join the operator forum so that we can start governance together. All right, guys, much love. We got to run to our weekly big